This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 220, Leadsology, the science of being in demand, an interview with Tom Poland.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers, and yes, indeed, I survived my bike ride called the Fault Line Ride. It is based on the big earthquake that happened between 1811 and 1812 on the New Madrid Fault on the Mississippi River. We went from the states of Missouri to Illinois to back to Missouri to Kentucky to Tennessee to back to Kentucky, and then finally finishing up in Missouri. It was 340 some miles. 90 plus degrees Fahrenheit, that's 33 Celsius for all of you elsewhere in the world. It was hard and it was fun because that's where happiness comes from. It comes from suffering, and suffering we certainly did. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Today we're going to talk about Leadsology. Our guest is Tom Poland. He's the author of Leadsology, and he talks about how to get prospects to self-qualify themselves and how you in sales can use marketing techniques to find those leads. So, with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, Tom. Are you ready to babble?
I'm ready to rock and roll, sir. Looking forward to this.
Excellent. Tom, you are down under in Australia.
Correct. In a little place in Australia called Castaways Beach that hardly even anyone in Australia knows exists.
It sounds absolutely lovely.
Yeah, for folks in the States, you climate-wise, you could think San Diego. You just got to shrink San Diego by like 1 million times. So there's like 200 houses at Castaways Beach. 200 houses with the same climate as San Diego. It's the world's best kept secret, I suspect.
It's not a secret anymore. Now everybody's heard about it. And although I'd like to chat about this, that's not exactly why we're here today, is it?
Fair enough.
Today we're here to talk about your book. It's called Leadsology, the science of being in demand. Isn't that right?
That is correct. Leadsology.
What is Leadsology?
Well, it is the science of being in demand, but more specifically, what it is, it's if we go to what it produces, when you put Leadsology, when you embed it into place, people every single week, if not every single day, people are finding a link to talk with you, and they're booking a time to talk with you, and those people know what your fees are, they know how you work with clients, they have, as I said, proactively booked a time to talk with you. And the fourth characteristic is that if they don't regard you as one of their very best choices, then they regard you as their only legitimate choice. So we're talking about highly qualified leads. What most people, and look, these things have different definitions, I understand, so I'm not knocking the other people, but most people talk about leads as maybe they found an email address, or they met someone at a business networking meeting, or someone registered for a meeting or something. So it's like, oh, that's a lead. Well, it's kind of, as we both know, it's more of a suspect. We suspect they may have an interest. But to me, a lead is that person who that books the time to speak with let's talk about an audience member, speak with you about becoming a client. As I said, they know your fees, they know how you work with clients, and they regard you, if not as one of their very best choices, then possibly their only legitimate choice. That, to me, is a lead. And that is the one KPI that all my clients must measure religiously, is how many of those inbound consults have been booked.
So I think of that as terms of as an opportunity. I think of the other things as leads. Somebody that I met at a conference or somebody I met at a network meetup. But if they've actually scheduled you for a meeting, see, in my mind, that goes. They've turned from a lead into an opportunity, and that is a significant KPI. And by KPI, we mean a key performance indicator, something that's really important that you need to measure in your business. That's how you use the term too, right?
Exactly. And thanks for that clarification. I think the way you've expressed it is far better than mine, because the whole idea of creating an opportunity with someone, it goes well beyond. I'm going to rewrite the whole damn book now, thanks to you.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think this is super duper hard. I think this is the number one hardest part of sales is getting that first sales meeting booked.
Absolutely. That is, and bear in mind, I mean, I've been doing this sort of thing for 37 years, so I've done it every wrong way you could possibly imagine. So, because some of the wrong ways that I thought would work was kind of like, let's create this sales ambush, but let's dress it up as a free consult. So what happens when people do that is they get a bunch of broke people contacting them, or a bunch of people that may not be broke but aren't a fit for the service. So what I want when we create these opportunity meetings is I want the people coming into those meetings knowing it's not a sales ambush and it's not a free ideas session. It is simply and purely to see if that person who's made the booking is going to find out whether you have something that's a fit for them or not. And it's a mature adult conversation. I mentioned it before the interview, Pat. I'm the world's worst person, but my conversion rate is something that most people would like. It's well over 50%. And we're talking $15,000 ticket items. It might be $2,000 ticket items, but they're still not a $97 product. So to get that conversion rate, the trick is that you've got to filter people out very significantly prior to the meeting with you. I would rather have one extremely high quality meeting with an opportunity meeting each week than 100 poor quality ones, because it's just going to waste a lot of time for everyone.
You're only talking to truly qualified prospects.
Exactly. And remember, the criteria is they have reached out and made the booking. Number 2 is they know what your fees are. Number 3 is they know how you work with clients. And number 4 is they regard you, if not, as one of their very best choices and possibly their only legitimate choice. These are very highly qualified opportunities.
They've reached out to you. They know what the price is. They know what the value is. And what was the last one?
They regard you, if not as one of their very best options, quite possibly as their only legitimate option.
So they've differentiated you against the rest for the competition.
You took the words out of my brain.
Oh, sorry.
You have done such a great job of overtly demonstrating 2 things: differentiation and desirability. Because differentiation isn't enough. It's got to be desirable differentiation. I mean, I could, stand on my head and, scratch my ear. That's very different, but it's not highly desirable. And so the big mistake that most people make is they go from, I call it Hugh Jackman marketing. Hugh Jackman's been voted something like, I think 3 years in a row as the world's most irresistible man.
Yes.
So, and I said to my wife, if tell me this, if there was a knock at the door and you went to the front door and you opened it was Hugh Jackman. He dropped to one knee and he opened a red velvet-covered box with $1 million diamond ring, and he said, "Uta Starenga, would you marry me?" That's my wife's name. And what would you say? And she looked at me and she said, "Well, first of all, I love you, right, Tom?" And I said, "Yeah, I could see where this is heading." And she said, "Secondly, I apologize in advance because you'd never see me again." And I said, "Look, sweetie, don't apologize. If I'd answered the door and he'd proposed to me, you probably wouldn't see me again, and I'm not even gay." So it's like this absolutely irresistible man, and that's how most people do their marketing, as like a Hugh Jackman. They go to a business networking meeting and hand the business card out and say, hoping that basically they're proposing, let's talk about doing business. And it's just too soon. We are not the commercial equivalent of Hugh Jackman. So we need to create an experience, kind of like a date, I suppose, commercial equivalent of a date. We need to create an experience in between the identification of that prospect and them and actually talking with them about becoming a client. Because unless we create that experience, we cannot possibly qualify them, and nor can we educate them. The experience might be them reading a guide, doing some videos, coming to an online meeting, coming to an offline meeting, completing a survey. There's so many different ways we can create that experience, which is enticing for the right prospect.
So I'm skeptical here about getting people to call me or to go to my webpage, and book on my schedule. What's the trick? I get the idea that there's got to be huge value, and they somehow feel
I can understand your skepticism because you're doing what you're doing for quite a while and clearly very, very good at it. You've got a big following, so I can understand your skepticism. But I also appreciate you're open-mindedly skeptical. Skeptical enough to ask the question, open-minded enough to
absolutely. I tell you what, if you got some trick here that I don't know, that is awesome.
Well, I like that. So one of the tricks is called pre-selection. So the pre-selection acknowledges that not all prospects are created equal, and that most prospects will have some sort of demographic characteristics which we can identify prior to extending, whether it's LinkedIn a connection request, whether it's social media, or whether it's an email opt-in. They will have some form of demographic criteria, which means that we can actually figure out if they're likely to be a prospect even. And the way we do it is pretty simple. It's content marketing. People will know it's content marketing. And if you indulge me with another brief story, you imagine there's a forest full of grizzly bears and they're all asleep. Some of them are hungry, some of them aren't. And we want those grizzly bears to eat our honey. So clearly the grizzly bears are a metaphor for potential clients. And the honey pot we've got in our hand is a potential, is a sample of our product or service. We've got a couple of options here. Remember, all the grizzly bears are asleep. Some of them are hungry, some of them aren't. We don't know which one's which. We can go running through the forest with a big, long pole with a sharp point on the end and jab a bear in the ass with the stick and wake it up. Now, if the bear's hunger exceeds its anger, it eats our honey and not us. We're in trouble if it's the other way around. And that's like cold calling. That's like going out and disturbing people and saying, do you want to talk about doing business or something perhaps a little more subtle than that, but nevertheless, it's basically, it's kind of like Hugh Jackman marketing. Wake up, see what I've got. So what Leadsology does is it puts the honeypot outside the forest. And then, provided we've got the forest right, and we know there's bears in there, then we don't even need to know which bears are hungry because they'll come out of the forest. So when you put a book into the market or you offer a training session, that's the honeypot. Or you offer a survey. You've got to articulate the value of doing that. You've got to tell people why it would be a good idea to buy this book, how you're going to benefit from doing the survey. So it's the old with them. There's got to be something in it for them. What's in it for me? But that's how we do the Leadsology marketing, is we put honeypots out in front of the right forest. The bears that are hungry wake up and go, hey, there's honey around here somewhere, and they walk out of the forest. In other words, they subscribe to the list, or they connect on LinkedIn. And that's the start of the Leadsology process, is we've got someone either opted into a list or registering for a meeting or buying a book or any one of the other ways we can do it, putting their hand up saying, I'm hungry for leads. And that strategy can be replicated across so many different industries. I have yet to find an industry now that can't be replicated on. So that...
Yeah, I think the struggle there is, and this is something I do believe, this whole idea of giving some kind of lead magnet or something of value to some people with the idea of piquing their curiosity. The issue is so many people have no idea where those places are that those prospective customers hang out, number one. And number two, what would be that thing that I would give them? Like if I'm selling software or something, would that be a free trial? Would that be what would that be? And giving a free trial away is like really hard because that requires work on their part. It's not like it's really free. Even if we're not really charging them, it's my time, right? That's another part. Even reading a PDF on 10 ways to do something, 6 ways to Sunday something, that requires an investment on me to sit down and read it. So,
and that's exactly what we want, because if they, first of all, let's take the PDF and the trial. I'd put that's a step further down the track. I think we want some information that a person who is already aware of the need for what you've got is going to be interested in. And the way we make them aware of that information is important, but it's not as important as the message that's embedded in the information. If you take my book, Leadsology, The Science of Being in Demand, there is an implied benefit in the title. I'm running a webinar later this week, which is how to enjoy a weekly flow of high-quality inbound new client inquiries.
Right.
Now, anyone that is interested in lead gen, and I don't want to have to convince someone that being interested in marketing is a good idea. I want the bears that are already hungry. I don't want to convince a satisfied bear that they should be eating some honey. That's hard work, and it's completely inefficient and effective and too expensive. I only want the bears that are interested in the honey. I only want the people that are interested in lead gen, in my case. So that's the first thing, is we're only targeting people that have an interest in what we've got. but we've got to dress it up in a way that's sexy and valuable, and if not intriguing or curious. And classic, one of my old-style marketing colleagues, Alan was a point-of-sale expert, and he's a freaking genius, an Irish guy. And when email marketing first started out, I said to Alan, we were having a cup of coffee, I said, Alan, I'm getting into this. This stuff is amazing. Email marketing, you can, essentially for the price of an internet connection, you can send 1,000 people a message with something enticing and interesting. He said, email marketing is never going to take off, Tom. I never read that stuff. Just delete. I said, that's interesting, Alan. Tell me. Now, bear in mind, Alan is Irish, right? And, the Irish have Guinness and whiskey instead of blood.
Careful, I'm half
said,
Irish, by the way.
Well,
and I love Guinness and Irish whiskey. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're a Guinness fan. Perfect. So I said to Alan, well, look, let me ask you this. If I sent you an email and said the subject line was free Guinness tasting, would you read the email? Oh, yeah, I'd read that one. We just found a hungry bear, right? And so every single lead in the history of mankind has been generated when you intersect two things. One, an ideal client who's aware of their need, for starters. That's, if they're not aware of their needs, they're not an ideal client. You intersect an ideal client with an effective marketing message. That's when you get the lead generated. That's when you get the bear waking up going, where's the honeypot? I want to know more about that. So we've got to be strategic about this. We've got to be smart about this. We've got to have a honeypot that's highly attractive to the right person. Now, you're saying a lot of people, there were two things you sort of were skeptical about or asking about, quite rightly. One is, where the heck do we find all these people, right? Do we hassle them on LinkedIn or Facebook? And in almost every industry around the world, there is this massive untapped reservoir of leads. People have probably heard about OPM, other people's money, how you can leverage off other people's money and to get investors and so on in businesses, right. Or OPT, other people's time. My thing, and has been for over 20 years, is OPN, other people's networks. So in every industry, there are networks, privately owned network. You've got a network. I've got a network. Right now, I'm getting my message into your network. If there's a hungry bear in your network, they're probably going to reach out. Whether I'm just speaking to MC Laubscher, who's a top wealth coach. Where's he out of? He's out of, I think he's in New York this morning, and we will do a webinar to each other's list. He's an OPN host. I'm an OPN for him, other people's networks. If you go direct, if you try to generate leads directly, three things are a problem. One is it's generally inefficient, it's ineffective, and it's expensive. If you go through other people's networks, which is a non-traditional channel, and there's a whole science behind this, then it is completely free. There's no advertising cost. There's no affiliate commissions. It's easy, and it's fast, and it's simple. Now, I would rather have free, easy, fast, and simple over expensive, inefficient, and ineffective.
This goes to a conversation I was having earlier this morning. The idea of having strategic partnerships with other people that you're not necessarily competing against, but who also sell in the same space, and that
absolutely on the money, honey. And so invariably they target a similar, if not the same, demographic, the same person, whether it's a big organization or a mum and dad pop corner store, whatever it is. They've got the same ideal clients in mind, but they're offering complementary service. Now, here's what will happen when you approach someone like that. Nothing. That's why there was a pause, because nothing happened.
That was a long pause.
Because and that's exactly what happens, though. That's why I had to give you a long pause, because nothing happens. You just wait, because you're not Hugh Jackman, right? I'm not Hugh Jackman.
No.
So what I'm talking about here is if you just go, okay, oh, cool, I'm, let's say I'm in sales, I'll find people in marketing, and because they'll have networks, and I'll pop off an email and said, hey, hey, Paul, you don't know me, but my name's Tom. I've got this idea that we could do I could make you a lot of money, Why don't we talk? And you look at it and you go, spammer, delete. So what has to happen before we propose anything, whether it's to a potential strategic partner or whether it's to a client, is 4 levels of relationship influence that have to be established. The first thing is we have to establish rapport. So it's like click, click, yeah, I can get on with this person. Or this is what they're saying about you. The second thing is respect. They can have some respect for your professional integrity. The third thing is relatability. This person knows what I want. They know what I need. I feel like, and that's a key operative word, I feel like, yeah, they get me. And the fourth thing is reciprocity, whereby you've done something cool for them, or you're able to do something cool for them, which they would like to reciprocate. So it's a whole system, and I don't want to try and overcomplicate it. I'm just saying, whilst it's relatively simple, it's not necessarily quite as easy as reaching out to people and just going, hey, why don't we form a partnership?
I like
the Hugh
this.
Jackman thing again. We've
this.
got to allow people. We've got to allow people this experience to get to know us. People talk about know, like, and trust. It's not enough. It's a really good start. You're not going to get anywhere without that. But if we can create an experience, because I don't know, they've seen some videos of us, or they've come to a webinar, or they've come to a breakfast, lunch, and learn, or they've sat on what I call a boardroom briefing, which is all online, or they've read our book, or they've done our survey, and they're going, yeah, I think this feels right, and this person's got some good stuff. That's when we propose. So it's a game of patience, because what we're doing is we're putting another step in between what we want, which is the two-step process. Find a person, do some business. We're putting another step in the middle of that where we can establish respect, rapport, relatability, and reciprocity.
I like that. This is all, the thing is, though, this is all got to be, I think, founded on a value proposition. I'm thinking
That's
of
exactly 100% right.
I don't know if you know Lisa Dennis. Yeah. She's the value prop expert. I've had
no, I don't, unfortunately, but I should get to know her.
Yeah, you should. I'll introduce you guys because she's been on the podcast, and it's all about that. If you don't truly understand who exactly is your ideal client, the value that you bring to them, that you can't speak in terms of benefit, that every piece of feature or functionality of the thing that you're selling or the product or the service that you're providing, if you can't associate it with a clear benefit to the to your prospective client, there's just no way you're ever going to. There's no way when you speak to them is it going to matter to them. You can't write a marketing headline. You can't do a sales pitch. You can't do a cold call.
Yeah.
Or
100% correct. And when and so all of those things need to be ticked off before the person books a time to talk with you about becoming a client. And at least it's totally on the money, because remember I said before, every lead in the history of mankind has been generated when two things intersect: an ideal client and a marketing message. The marketing message, you could, AKA the value proposition. We have to be able to create the title of a guide, the title of a meeting, the title of a book, the title of a survey, the title of whatever tool we're using, whatever honeypot we develop. There has to be an explicit benefit in there, which when our prospect reads or hears it, goes, oh, that's what I'm interested in. Bingo. And that people call it a unique sales proposition. I just call it a marketing message.
Yeah.
It's benefit rich, it's differentiated, and the bingo on this one is it contains specifics. So if for example, let me give you a before and after value proposition a la Leadsology. So Max develops software. His ideal client has a quick service restaurant. They call them QSRs, like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King.
Yep.
Before we applied these three characteristics, benefit rich, differentiated, and containing specifics, Max's value proposition was, if you said to Max, what do you do? And he'd go, well, we create point-of-sale software for QSRs, for quick service restaurants. Now, if you heard that, I think your eyes would glaze over and you'd smile weakly and say, that's nice, and you'd go some other place. But if Max was sitting, at, say, a dinner party, and he's speaking to Sue, and Sue's got like 5 McDonald's outlets, and she's maybe had, I don't know, a third glass of red wine, so, she's speaking pretty openly, and she's complaining to Max about it. Sales are flatlined. You can't just keep buying more outlets. It's not the answer. You've got to figure out how to increase sales. And she puts the glass down and she says, Max, I'm so sorry. I've been so rude telling you all about my business challenges. What is it you do for a living, Max? And the Max goes, funny you ask, Sue, we actually increased the sales in QSRs by 25%. And we can guarantee to do that in 90 days. Bingo. And what was the difference between we do point-of-sale software for QSRs and the second statement. The second statement was benefit-rich in the eyes of Sue, his ideal client. It contains specifics, over 25% within 90 days. It's very specific. And it was completely differentiated to what everyone else was saying about point-of-sale software. And in fact, if you want to reinforce a very important point here, at no point in Max's answer did he even mention software.
Nope.
If you said software, Sue would have gone, oh, God, just what I need. Some guy's going to flog me some software at this dinner party. The last thing I need is software. I already got software. Sue doesn't care what it is. She doesn't care if it's having bigger car parks or redesigning the interior of the restaurant. She just wants the extra 25%. And that's the reason why most value propositions, to use Lisa's terminology or mine as marketing messages, that's why most of them fail. That's why most subject lines in emails fail to motivate people to open the email. That's why most invitations to meetings fail to get registrants, because the value proposition or marketing message embedded in the subject line or the title of the event doesn't get cut through, and it doesn't motivate people to want to know more.
Great example. That's a really great example.
It's transformational, isn't it?
So Tom, if you could give our listeners one piece of advice they can go and take action on this week, what would that be?
Well, it's a great question. It's one that have been asked regularly. You know, what's the one thing I can do with marketing that's going to make more difference than anything else? And the correct answer is there is no one thing, but a useful answer is do some. Any marketing is better than no marketing. Even if you're not convinced your value proposition or marketing message is finely honed. Even if you are jabbing sharp sticks into the backsides of bears, it's better than waiting to be discovered. I had a client the other day, God bless her, she new client, brand new client, like first meeting, and she said, well, what about YouTube? You know, because if I had something on YouTube, I can get discovered. And in the friendliest, most polite way possible, I jumped on her. Digitally speaking, I should hasten to add, in case my wife's listening.
Right.
And I said, you've got to get that idea out of your mind. You are not going to get discovered. People are going to find you, and they're going to find you because you are marketing aggressively, ethically, in a value-added way, but aggressively. We are going to get your brand out there in such a manner that it gets noticed and it gets acted on. But do not ever, ever, ever talk to me again about being frickin' discovered, because it's an illusion. It happens to 1 in about 10 million people on the planet. And it's not going to happen for you, sweetie.
Right. They're an overnight sensation after 10 years of playing,
I can do better than that, though, because that's probably a bit too specific. If people go to 5hourchallenge.com, I will give them 5 steps to take over 5 days, 1 hour a day over 5 days, that will generate 5 fresh leads and hopefully one new fee-paying client. That's actionable advice. It'll show them how to put together the marketing
I like that.
we're talking about, how to put it out, how to develop the marketing message that we've just been talking about, the value proposition that Lisa talks about, and how to get it in front of the ideal clients. There's like a, and I didn't think of that earlier, but so that's one thing that people can do.
Well, I like that. So
actionable.
Say that website again.
Yeah, it's 5. That's the word 5hourchallenge.com.
All right, 5-hour challenge. I'll make sure to put that in the show notes too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. Any place else people can find you online?
Look, if people want to talk about their marketing needs and they qualify, they can go to bookachatwithtom.com. And if they read that page, and that'll explain who I work with and who unfortunately I can't help. But if they go to bookachatwithtom.com, find a time. That's one opportunity. And of course, there's the main website, which is leadsology.guru. There's lots of free stuff on there.
They can find your book there too?
They can, if they want the book, it's gettomsbook.com.
Excellent. Very good.
Also find a link to it on the website.
Tom, this has been...
Just real quick, another idea for people that is actionable. Whatever your first name is, go ahead and go to GoDaddy.com and go ahead and get Book a Chat With, and insert your name, first name there, .com. Because you want to make it really easy for people to find a time to talk with you. And if you go ahead and get, like mine is bookachatwithtom.com, go ahead and get the equivalent, and then you can redirect that to one of the many free online scheduling meetings, and that's another actionable item. Make it easy for people to find a time to talk with you. No email tag, no telephone tag.
Excellent. Interesting. People book. I use You Can Book Me, youcanbook.me. So I got Pat Helmers. You Can Book Me. That's what I've been using, and I've been using that for years. And I think that's how you booked me.
It is indeed, and you made it easy for me, right?
I did.
Yeah, that's smart.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, Tom, thank you very much for visiting us here on Sales Babble. This has been really good. A lot of salespeople struggle with this whole marketing thing. How much marketing do I really got time to do? A little bit of this, I think, could go a long ways.
I just look. It took me so many years to crack this one, and I'm so pleased I have, because it makes everything in life so much easier. When you wake up on a Monday morning, you look at your calendar, and there's a bunch of people who booked a time to speak with you, and they know what your fees are, they know how you work with people, and so on. Yeah, the rest of life just rolls on.
I can see that. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir, for visiting us.
Been a pleasure. I really appreciate the invite. Thanks very much, Pat.
Another way of looking at what Tom's talking about here is what they call the give-to-get marketing, where you got to give them something so that they feel a sense of reciprocity to you. And if what you're giving them has value, then it's going to stimulate them and make them curious about, well, maybe you have more things to give them. So something as simple as a lead magnet, like this PDF that we're talking about, 5 ways to do this or 10 ways to do that. Or maybe it's a webinar, or maybe it's something you're handing them at a networking meeting or at a conference or whatnot. Whatever that is that you're giving them, they'll see value in that. If they see value in what you're handing them, they're going to see value in spending more time with you. They will self-qualify themselves and put their hands up and say, "Yeah, Pat, I'd love to have a meeting with you. I think you might just be able to help me. I think that might be an interesting conversation." That's the trick to having a powerful sales call, is that they want to be in on that and that they're invested in that. That's what Leadsology is all about. To connect with Tom, you can find links to the 5-day challenge that he talked about and his book, Leadsology, The Science of Being in Demand. You can find those in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com/220. That's 220. If you have a question, you have a comment on this topic or any topic when it comes to sales, don't hesitate to connect with me. Go to the web page and click Babble Me or send an email to me. Make sure and get on the email list. We would love to connect. We're giving away free things to people who are on our email list that you may find value and help your ability to be successful in sales. And the way to do that is to also go onto the Sales Babble web page and click subscribe. Thanks again for visiting us. I really appreciate it. Until next week, take care and have a highly successful and profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.